Hey everybody, this is Greg with The Dice Must Flow, and today I'd like to start a new segment for the channel, which is called the Boardgame Timewarp. And so, as you can tell, we got the Timewarp music going in the background. And what I intend to do with this segment is talk about games that I played when I was a kid, and we have older games that still are a lot of fun, and maybe people haven't heard of them. So the game I'd like to start with today is called Gusher. This is a game that was published in 1960. I believe it was actually published before then. My version is from 1960. It's actually older than me. It's a game of oil drilling and making money. So let's take a look at it. Okay, let's take a look at the game Gusher. And this is done by Karam Industries, Inc. from Michigan. And like I said in the intro, this was copyright 1960. The first thing to notice about this game is it's really a piece of quality components. It's a nice hard wooden board. And inside there's actually little pieces of wood. So the first thing you need to do in this game to set up is you need to shake this thing around and get all those pieces of wood randomly distributed throughout the board. The game is played such that each person gets $300,000 to start with. They're given 10 lease counters, and then the game proceeds with the first player putting up one or two properties for auction. And in this case, I always had to have the lake. So we would have these two properties up for auction, and the bid would go around until one person actually wins the bid, and then they would mark their properties with that they have leased them. The next player goes, he can actually bring up new things for auction, and play would continue. When it's your turn, you can either bring up a new piece of property for auction, or you can drill. To drill costs $10,000 per spot you want to drill on your leased property. You can drill on one leased property. So you could drill all four of them on the lake if you wanted. So, but if we drilled just two, these two here, we would drill and we would see that, well, that one is a gusher. And so this is a kind of a cool little plunger device that you can see. And when we have, zoom in on that. So you can see when the plunger is up, then it's a gusher. And when the plunger is down, there's nothing. So if I had drilled these three, like I'd said two before, but let's say if I drilled these three, I would have one gusher and one miss. So that would cost me $30,000. I would mark these two as dry. This is my marker for being leased. And I would mark that as being an oil well. So immediately upon drilling and hitting a gusher, the bank pays you $30,000. On subsequent turns, every time it is your turn, for every oil well that is producing, you get an additional $20,000. And so play proceeds that way, going and going, until one player reaches $1 million. And so that's the gist of the game. There are some other things you can do in the game. You know, way back when we never really did this, but you can have other players. You can pay other players. On your turn, you can have another player to pay you to drill on their property. They'd have to pay you some money. You'd drill and see what it found, and if you hit gushers, it would go to that other player. You can sell some of the properties back to the bank if you don't have enough money and they haven't been drilled on. That's basically the game. Like I said, this thing is quality components and bright and colorful. Very simple, very easy to play. Really quite fun for a family game. I remember it fondly. I hope that you guys would try and find this game and give it a go. I do know that it's kind of rare and kind of expensive. This game, we really love the whole oil theme so much There's actually another game that I'm going to talk about in the future called King Oil, which is kind of a relative of this. A descendant, I should say, of this. Like I said, this is Gusher from 1960. That's our first segment for the Board Game Time Warp. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.